What's going on, everybody? This is Shaheem Reed. Welcome to another edition of the walkthrough. I'm really having a great time doing these programs each week. I'm happy that everybody's tuning in. Shout out to my previous guest, Currency YBN the Mayor. Now we have one of the supreme legends. I think he's one of the most talented people walking the planet. I'm sure you will agree with me. None other than the legend Ceelo Green.
Peace, King.
Hello, my brother, man.
Shy, what up?
It's always great to see you, man.
My pleasure, King. It's a blessing.
Yes, man. Yes. Royalty. I'm looking at royalty, man. Like I always say, uh, you're one of the most talented people walking the planet at any given moment, man.
What a
Uh,
wonderful thing to say. You biased though, because we've been friends for so long.
Nah, I am biased. I'm definitely biased, man. But I'm also a witness. I done seen you do records with everybody from Rick Ross to the Muppets. A lot of people can't do that, man.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. So I got the new record. I'm loving it.
Thank you.
Lead Me. And what's so ill about it, man, is that when I listened to it the first time I got it, I listened to it about 3 times in a row because like I was really just dissecting it, listen to it, and you know, it feels like in one phase it feels like you're talking to your wife because we've been able to see your relationship and everything on the TV show.
Hmm.
But then I also felt like you could be talking to the higher power as well. Like it felt very spiritual at the same time.
Well, absolutely. I think both things are relative. Um, if you exalt that partner, if you exalt that woman, she does ultimately um qualify as that higher power. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And higher vibration of um, of accountability. Accountability. Trickling down. Into a more mature account of manhood, and sometimes maturity is represented in reverence, and sacrifice. Um, and I think that it's a scenario that's not. It's not. It's a very rare occasion. You know what I mean? Like to acknowledge it. You know what I mean? In song, and so, you're right. So like initially, the song was written out of that literal context, but then it takes on another life, and it lends itself to maybe the circumstances that we're living through, and also a state of being that we endure through on any average day. You know what I mean? Like we all are always kind of needing and looking for guidance and leadership. You know what I mean? Like in direction, and so therefore you have to be humble. You have to be brave enough to ask. You know what I'm saying? So any song about love is a song about bravery.
Yeah, and this is at this time, man. Having that faith. Lead me having that faith. The times that we're in, COVID-19
Yeah.
has take. We was just talking about it, taking over the entire world. Uh, Equal playing field with a lot of people. You can't go different places, but I did see your hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. Georgia. Period. They're starting to open back up a little bit.
I saw that.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? The mayor of Atlanta is not having it.
Yeah. I think people are indifferent, in their opinions. People are apprehensive uh, because of misinformation and just fear, and care and consideration, of course. Um, I, for one, try to look at it objectively, and say to myself that I understand it. You know what I mean? People are, you know, there are a great deal of people who are less fortunate and who are suffering a great deal more than myself. You know what I mean? So I would be selfish to say stay in place. You know what I mean? Like, but I understand, the desire. You know what I mean? Like I understand you know, the angst, the anticipation. I'm saying like for freedom. You know what I mean? Like and to
Right.
get back to normalcy. But I've been saying over the course of the last few weeks, since I've been interviewed about it, that we should not be in a rush to go back to what once was. You know what I mean? Like I believe that we should, should have used this opportunity for self discovery, for improvement, for betterment, for enlightenment. A spiritual and mental growth and awakening. And to go back out and as far as going forward to set a new standard, a new normal, if you will. So a lot of the behavior that we've learned, you know what I mean, like and adopted as routine, and practice as a family, over the last few weeks, I want to keep that. I want to keep the closeness, you know what I mean, like the camaraderie, the communication, you know what I mean, like and the compassion for each other and our fellow man. I want to keep those things. Those things should always remain either current or concurrent. You know what I'm saying? Because we still have to get back out into you know, into the network. You know what I mean? Like get back out on
Right.
the grid so we could all earn our keep. You know what I'm saying? And I think what you're seeing, is an ambition to do just that. So like, I understand that, but you know, all things in moderation. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't have just, I wouldn't suggest anybody just, react off of the emotion. You know what I mean? Like emotion is going to affect your aim. You're going to miss your mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's been really interesting, and it's been a learning experience watching everything, especially with some of the brothers and sisters down in ATL in particular. You know, Killer Mike, he has the barbershop out there, which I'm in dire need of going to. He had great barbershop, but he said that he wasn't going to open it yet. Two Chains, I think he had caught a little bit of flack because he wanted to open one of his establishments, and I think he fell back from it. We even talked to Sway Lee from Ray Shrimmer a little while ago, and he said he can't wait. He soon as ATL open up, he's back in business. He's going to be out there. Now there's a lot of people that feel that.
But to do what?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I know they've opened up. They're talking about opening some of the malls and some of the barbershops and nail salons and things of that nature. Some black people are really upset because they feel that Atlanta, one of the blackest cities in the world, and it's like they kind of feel like they're doing an experiment with the black people.
Well, you know, I'm definitely not here to instigate, you know what I'm saying, or act as if I'm an authority. You know what I mean? But I also don't want to be an enabler. You know what I mean? I want people to be well aware, of the many different factors. You know what I mean? But and maybe I'm speaking from more of a personal perspective, and everyone does not have my vantage point. And I'm saying that
Right.
to say, I'm from Atlanta and I'm in Atlanta, but prior to, I've lived in Miami, Florida, predominantly, or excuse me, primarily, and I just happened to be here, and I'm glad that under these circumstances that I was here, I was close, um, and we have the means, you know what I mean, like to facilitate, certain things a bit more effectively, you know what I mean, like and successfully. So I I fortunately I have those advantages, but that's one individual's account. You know what I mean. So like you can't
Absolutely.
you can't personalize it, especially an artist, human being and man like myself. Like I mean, I'm impassioned about people. You know what I mean. Like everything that I have done has had to do, what I mean, like with the love of the people. You know what I mean, like in the liberation of the people. So like I definitely wouldn't want not to misinform them. You know what I mean? Like, but I also would not want to um, allow fear to be an agent. You know what I'm saying? Like, to alienate us further from each other. Um, but I'm an hour outside of Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like on a property. You know what I'm saying? We have a home property in our family. We use it as a commercial property mainly. You know what I'm saying? When no one is in town, I actually have to, schedule myself to be here. And I mean, like in the event that it's booked. So my sister's the property manager here. But I'm saying that to say, you know what I mean? Like it's you know a little disillusioning. You know what I mean? To be at this distance. You know what I mean? So like.
Right.
But I do have the empathy and the compassion for those that need to get back. You know what I mean? Like in gear. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if that gear is drive, you know what I mean? Like, that gear has been in neutral, you know what I mean? Like, for the last, few weeks. It's not even in park. We're in neutral because like, we got anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Like we have pressure, we have responsibility. You know what I mean? Like it's just sheer confusion and no clarity on if this is some political agenda, if it's the plague and the wrath of God, you know what I mean? Like, and so like we're questioning ourselves, we're questioning our mortality, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like it's a lot to think about, you know what I mean? And not to ramble on and on and on, but I get it, you know what I'm saying? But how I felt was um I could appreciate early on when we were at the inception of it, and you know it was seen as what it is. Like I mean, like uh, it's something that involves us all. You know what I mean? Like it's a human race thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a planetary thing. You know what I mean? As opposed to the way that it's been reduced to a black thing. You know what I'm saying? I resent that. You know what I'm saying? I really do, and I don't believe uh, in so much the research. I don't take those numbers or statistics as actual fact or complete and total accuracy. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I don't think you can, man. Like it's
So my intelligence is insulted by that, and I feel like well, damn. You know what I mean? So now it's become more of sorry, fix my hat. Uh,
yeah.
it's creeping. Uh, I feel like that's become the narrative. That's become the conversation. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a deflection from what our focus was. I mean, like, and that's to be highly enlightened and informed about you know what things to take for law, what things to to really listen to and really siphon what we could use from it. I mean, like and source from it. So I mean, I just think it's a distraction. Like not now, it's about black people, an entire pandemic that has affected us globally. You know what I mean? Like it's a black thing now, and I just think that's so unfortunate. And that we can so easily be distracted and dumbed down.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough times, and people they got certain agendas and everything. I've spoken to a myriad of artists since this whole thing is happening. It's kind of like a 50-50 divide. Some people think this is the greatest time to put out music. Some people think that they should wait until the pandemic is over to put out music, and of course, to each his own. Obviously, you have a new single and an album coming out. What is it like for you to put out music around this time?
Fortunately for me, uh, lead me lent itself to the matter at hand, and people could use it as some means of inspiration or hope. You know what I mean? Light. Love. Um, Optimism. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a good vibration. It's a very simple, loving, wholesome song. And I'm glad that it could be put into context. And in that, I mean, it's not taking, but it's an offering and it's giving, it's contributing, because that emotion, or that reassurance is essential in its own right. And I want to speak on behalf of us as musicians, and as artists. But not all music does that, and I'm not saying that it has to. You know what I'm saying? But I believe that music of a certain substance and caliber, like is probably better. This is probably a great opportunity to be, produced, and perceived and received as such. But I don't want to hear no club banger right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to hear no ratchet shit, none of that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, not on no personal level. Like, I'm going back to what the ancestors were saying. You know what I mean? I'm going back to what the elders were saying. You know what I mean? Like, now this is a time for earth, wind, and fire. You know what I'm saying?
Man, we could
You know,
definitely use some earth, wind, and fire right
because
now,
because
man.
all we got is time. You know what I mean? Like, all we got is time. Now is the time to reflexology. What I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's to stretch. You know what I'm saying? Um, like, I think as a society, we suffer from ADD. You know what I mean? Like, and this is probably an even greater enemy, an even greater adversity. You know what I mean? Like, and virus that is spread through ignorance and misinformation. You know what I'm saying? And conditioning. You know what I'm saying? So, um, which is why even when we discuss music, we don't even really call it music as often as we once did. We call it content. You know what I'm saying? Because it's impersonable, it's disposable. You know what I'm saying? So like now we could go back and reference something like Earth, Wind and Fire, James Brown, or what have you, any other greats. You know what I mean? Like, well, there was a time when they had 10-minute songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, but all we got is time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
yeah, to revisit, you know what I mean, like and reconnect, what I'm saying, like with that natural resource. And I'm just so grateful for all of the elder statesmanship, what I mean, as far as music is concerned. I'm able to reference, I'm up on it, I'm saying, like, like I'm abreast of it, and I'm an advocate of it. You know what I mean? But a lot of the a lot of the younger generation, as they're living in the same time, they don't really know it to reference it. They don't know it to refer back to it. They don't know how to seek it out as refuge. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. I feel like, man, we talk
am I
about
making
going,
sense, Shy?
huh? Oh yeah,
Am I making sense?
all the time, all the time, all the
All right.
time. We you talk about going back and revisiting, man. We're celebrating 25 years of Goodie Mob, man, which is
Yep.
incredible. That year, 1995, was just an incredible year for music, period. But then here come you guys, and I love the quote that you said you was a social activist for Southern music, man.
Thanks to the success of Outkast, you know what I mean, and and so we were the second ones to come after that. So they knew pretty apparently or obviously that we weren't going to be exactly like Outkast, but they didn't really necessarily know what to expect. And this is our debut album. We all coming from different perspectives, but we know each other from the neighborhood, so we didn't really know what to make of it either. And people don't really know the chemical makeup, but we was coming, the first Goodie Mob album was essentially supposed to be a compilation album. You know what I mean? I was a solo artist, Git was a solo artist, and Cujo and T were the original Goodie Mob lumberjacks. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
before we called the collective the Dungeon Family, we were originally known as the Goodie Mob. So everybody was in the Goodie Mob. Outkast was in the Goodie Mob. You know what I'm saying? So Outkast was able to make that fashion statement. You know what I mean? Like, and give Atlanta the identity that it needed, because they didn't really necessarily find it in Arrested Development or TLC or Crisscross. And with all due respect to those groups that came prior, but Outkast, man, they had that look. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
That we could all relate to. But with Goody, it's like, man, we gave it that. we gave it the bones. You know what I'm saying? So
man.
people have asked me many times how would I describe us. I was like, okay, if Big Boy and Dre of Outkast was Chuck and Flav, a Public Enemy, then we the S1Ws. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
that's hard.
Yeah.
You know what my thing is. What I loved about you guys is that you guys were really trailblazing for ATL, and then we was getting the same thing in New York for Queensbridge at the same time. Like
Mhm.
'94, Nas came out. '94, Outkast came out. Those that was the equivalent. And then the very next year,
Mob Deep.
Mob Deep and
Come
Goodie
on.
Mob, and it was like almost mirror images because how uh Mob was a little bit more gutted than Nas, Goody
Just a
more
little.
gutted than Outkast.
Yeah.
Both great, both worked together, but it was like the next chapter of a fantastic story, and all four of the acts went on to become some of the biggest acts in hip hop, and not just biggest as far as sales. I'm talking about importance,
Yeah.
voice. You know, I want to ask you about the voice, man, because some of the stuff that you said 25 years ago is still prevalent today, and it's always been like that throughout your career. I know on that first album you said it was kind of just raw. You wasn't really overthinking. But
Right.
when did you discover like the importance of your voice?
Um. Well, I knew that I knew early on because it was an ambition to sing almost immediately, and I knew that I could aid and abet us. I'm saying like with harmony. You know what I mean? But I felt like at the time I was authoring a specific narrative, man. And I just think that sometimes the sweetness of a melody and song, you know what I mean, like is a surer way to convey that message. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um, so I knew that I wanted to get the message to the people. You know what I mean? Like I needed um, to to showcase the utmost sincerity. You know what I mean? So, but it's just coming from a young man, but a really raw and unrefined, perspective because we didn't profess, you know, um, industry at that time. You know what I mean? Like, for example, Get Up, Get Out on Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music's that record that we were first featured on, that's an 8-minute song. So that goes to show you how naive we were about status quo. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
but I knew I could sing from my heart, you know what I mean? And I knew that I could love, you know what I mean? Like, and this is my love language, you know what I mean? But just the duality of being, a Gemini, you know what I mean? So I got, I'm always dealing with, both sides of the brain. So it's this rougher exterior or approach, and then this very sweethearted sentiment, you know what I mean? Like all married together in a mix of emotions. And I just knew that it was necessary. But at the time, I just was simply doing what I could, trying to contribute and bring it back to the fold. Because like we needed enough velocity to push a large collective of people forward. Because we did have our own political and social agenda as well.
yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
so yeah,
not to cut
singing,
not to cut you off.
yeah.
Dungeon was giving us the southern vibe of Wu Tang. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying? Like,
no doubt, no doubt. And it wasn't by chance that we would ultimately all become comrades and really close friends. Some of us closer than others. Gip and RZA are really close. Me and Raekwon got really close. Speaking of Mob Deep, you know what I mean? Like I love the infamous Mob Deep. I even knew about Juvenile Hell when that first hit too. But the infamous, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a masterpiece. In my opinion, you know what I'm saying? So like
that's a
I think
fact.
I think it's a fucking fact. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Uh,
fortunately over time I got a chance to become really good friends. Rest in peace to Prodigy. Me and P became really cool and Havoc as well. So we became fans of each we actually one of their first shows promoting that record, they came to Atlanta and we got on the mic and introduced them. You know what I'm saying?
wow.
So that goes back a lot of people were kind of we were the gatekeepers of Atlanta at that time. So that's the relationship between Bad Boy and Dungeon Family. You know what I'm saying? Because Biggie's first shows were opening up for us. You know what I'm saying? In Atlanta, and Puffy also directed Players Ball. You
Right.
know what I mean? So we were all extended family. You know what I mean? Anybody will tell you that. Anybody that knows, they know. We got the pictures to prove it. You know what I'm saying?
This is live. We getting so many questions from the Twitch family.
All right.
Thank you everybody that tuned in. I'm gonna ask you about 3 questions from the Twitch family. Question one comes from, I think this is Lover Twitch. CeeLo, if I may, what inspired you to do music? What gave you the passion and desire to choose the music path? What are your influences?
Um, what inspired me to do music? You know, fanship. That's the easiest way I could say it. I'm probably a bigger fan, and being an appreciator uh, of music and culture and contribution is probably my greatest attribute. I'm a bigger fan than I am a celebrity, singer, rapper, writer. You know what I mean, like etc. You know what I mean, I love the eras that represented so well. Before my time, and that spoke to me and sparked a notion that I could, somehow in some way tell my story. Um, you know what I'm saying? So that's my inspiration. And then also, then you think when you say on a technical level, that's my heart song when I'm describing. On a technical level, when I begin to profess it, I got inspired by what wasn't being done. You know what I'm saying? You
Hmm.
can, there's a little saying when they say put some paint where it ain't. You know what I mean? I wanted to come to some terms and have that realization, have that epiphany of how I could innovate. You know what I mean? Like, how could I distinguish myself? How could I do, you know, um, on one hand what hasn't been done, on another hand continue the work of what I had considered to be great. And so therefore the first ingredient to being great is having great taste. So you know imitation is the best flattery. You know what I mean? So like, it's initiated by imitating, then emulating, then ultimately embodying what you've been inspired by, because you as your own vessel, you're going to filter a certain way. So what you ingest, you may not, what becomes of that, what you filter out, will be its own, hybrid theory, its own G1 article. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I got inspired, and that's how I've carved out a niche for myself. You know what I'm saying? But and then it just took a lot of heart. I could even say that it came from the street. I'm saying the way that I even pushed the line. You know what I mean? Because I got heart. You know what I'm saying? Like and I think even this generation got a misconstruence. You know what I mean? Like what being a G is all about. A lot of the young homies think being a G is about being heartless, but it's actually about having heart. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I got heart, man. You know what I mean? And so I'm willing to go the extra mile. You know what I mean? Like to ensure that a legacy be left. You know what I'm saying? And a mark be made. And as my grandmother used to tell me, it ain't no traffic on the extra mile.
There we go, man. And when I look at your career and just some of the stuff that you brought forward, man, like the template of what's going on today, what's popular, especially in the culture of people rapping and singing at the same time. Like
Yep.
I gotta look back first. I gotta look back at BBD Poison. That
Yeah.
album, it was hip hop. It was so hip hop, but they also brought the R&B. Like they brought that marriage.
Yeah.
I
It
look.
was hip hop smoothed out on an R&B tip with a pop feel appeal to it.
Or
Come on,
so
man.
I look at that.
Them the big homies for me. You know what I'm saying? Like Mike Bibbins, Rick, you know what I'm saying? Ron, he stay out here in Atlanta. I used to talk on the phone to Ralph all the time. OG Bobby Brown. You know, he
Yeah,
he he turned Atlanta up. You know what I'm saying? So we all been knowing each other for years now, but I was such a big fan of them growing up. But what's the question though?
No, no, I'm just saying like the template of what's going on now with people rapping and singing at the same time, the
Oh,
same
okay,
artist.
got you.
I look at what BBD did with the Poison album. I definitely look at you, which you bringing it to the forefront, and I look at Lauren, man. I look at those three entities as really helping to form the template of what
I,
a Drake, what a Tory Lanez, and some of the people doing now.
I could go back a bit further. You know what I mean? Like for modern times, me and Lauren were definitely a few of the first. You know what I mean? That first line of defense. But I'm gonna go all the way back to, you could even say Slick Rick because he was doing, even from Lottie Dottie, it's
Yeah.
because of you. Or you could even say, if you see me walking, that's Slick doing all them vocals. You know what I'm saying? Or I could even go back to um UTFO. You know what I mean? Like they had a record called Fairy Tale Lover. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Female.
TJ Swan,
I
when
was just
TJ
talking about.
Swan was doing it.
I've been talking about TJ Swan the last couple of days, man. Shout out to TJ Swan. You know what I mean? Because I was just talking about. I put up a post the other day about Public Enemy. I put up the picture, the 12-inch cover of Rebel Without a Pause, because it was the first single that I had ever bought with my own money when I had my first studio
Uh,
job. So I bought that single, and then I bought MC Shan's Down by Law because I used to love Left Me Lonely, which was a single off that record. You know what I mean?
hard.
With TJ Swan, and then we was talking about Biz Marquis and how his voice is what led me to MC Shan because I had recognized his voice from Nobody Beats the Biz and all of that. So like,
Come on, man.
as you can see, come on, we can get into the history. Like,
We
then we
love
got
it.
then we got to go back to Funky Forward plus one more Cold Crush. All of the elders they was using harmony. They were singing along. You know what I mean? Like, and they was putting that in the mix. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it was that unison vocal, that one unified front with a cold crap, have whatever the
Mhm.
routine was. So it was routines, it was choreography, it was unison, it was camaraderie. You know what I mean? Like I missed that element in hip hop as well, with the melody to match. And so that's, if anything, that's probably something indicative of what we was able to do with Goodie Mob because we're one of the last quartets left. You know what I mean? Like, and we still here. We're working on a new album right now as we speak. Even as I'm promoting another project. But see, this is my thing. Like, I got to a point in my career now. I'm a free agent again. You know what I'm saying? I have been for the last few years, so that's giving me all the flexibility I need to be a wildly productive and imaginative, prolific. You know what I mean? So right now, I got more physical music and content. You know what I'm saying? Like stockpile than I've ever had in my entire career. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we don't really have quartets like that no more. So I like crews, like I'm a crew type of cat. Really, at the end of the day, but we were a crew of a bunch of distinct individuals. You know what I'm saying? So that's dope. That's so we really like kind of like the real live X-Men with it. You know what I'm saying?
That leads perfect to the next question. Black King of Three. This is another guy who he's watching the show. Black King of Three. He says, if we looked in CeeLo's phone for a music playlist, which artist would we see?
Well, I got a couple of different ones. Like I did man, I got everything, man. I got everything from ABC to REM, everything from Billy Idol to Billy Joel to Billie Eilish. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Um, I got all, vintage hip hop, you know what I mean? And I do a lot of those compilations that you might see on iTunes, like, 80s hip hop, you know what I mean? Like, the essential 80s hip hop, essential 80s 90s R&B. You know what I'm saying? But I got
Yeah.
everything, man, from Sylvia to I got all kind of crazy stuff to the Clash, to Led Zeppelin, Devo. I listen to everything. My listening palette is vast.
Yeah, man, because you grew up in a time much like I did where the music it was less segregated than in what is right now. Like I always say this in New York, we turn on the radio, we hear Madonna, we hear Luther Vandross, we hear New
Exactly.
Edition. Then we may hear a little Dana Dane with Fame. We gotta wait for the hip hop.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like, our generation was special because we were able to have that access to our elders' music. It was omnipresent, right in our peripheral hearing. You know what I'm saying? And we adopted it. No different than we was young, but we loved Keith Sweat. We loved Anita Baker,
Oh yeah,
Freddie Jackson. But that was adult contemporary black music, but it had that 808 on there. You know what I'm saying? Like Gregory Abbott. You in my mind, and I wanna shake it down. You know that
yeah,
song. You
yeah.
know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? Like, and we, that was a bridge. And then also our era of hip hop, we sampled from our parents' music. So we don't have that bridge anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like where it was the young and old, and that was our way to stay connected. You know what I'm saying? Um, Now that came with its defaults because you default immediately 50% of your publishing by usage of a sample. You know what I mean? Like, so what I can say about this generation and the way that they produce their content, it's all original music, but it's not necessarily music. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's content. You feel me?
Yeah, but one of the things that I do appreciate with some of these guys, like
Does that make
so
sense?
yeah, it definitely makes sense. It
Okay.
definitely makes sense. But one of the things that I am seeing is that they're looking back to like '90s, early 2000, and starting to pay homage to that, which I think is really dope.
And this is where we come in at. So I can appreciate that because like now maybe we've hit a wall. And when I say content, you know what I mean? Like that's not to insult it or being condescending. It's really to be objective and to be matter of fact. You know what I'm saying? But someone else you could do an interview with them and they could argue their own defense. You know what I'm saying? Like much better than I can argue it for them. I'm just telling you as a watcher, you know what I'm saying, the way I see it. But you know, this is the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like when we could imitate our elders, so that means without you even knowing innately, it's a correspondence, and a continuum of wisdom. If you're imitating, if you're sampling from the Blackbirds or James Brown, it's really a sound bite of a wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a vitamin and it's a
Yeah,
multivitamin. You
yeah,
understand what I'm saying? So it gives so much depth, and weight, you know what I mean, like in validity to whatever that song becomes, and it's an acknowledgement. I mean, like so that's the humility and the humanity that we got to pass in order to keep some tradition in our culture. You know, something like our tradition should not be trend. You know what I'm saying? Like doing away with our elders' music, doing away. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know why that is. We're one of the only cultures that doesn't that we just don't keep something as our own. Breakdancing, for example. Like you could go to Japan and them niggas is mixing that shit. Breakdancing is a legitimate martial art at this point. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
There. The way that they've improved on it, the way that they've evolved it. You know what I'm saying? And we don't even appreciate, we haven't appreciated it in enough time to where it's almost a forgotten, it's a lost art. So I'm saying that to say, a lot of the young kids, they don't have it. So I'm glad they could go as far back as the 90s. But like I'm gonna reference certain stuff, and I'm glad you asked me about what music I listen to, so people could take those names and reference them and go back and be turned on to whatever you want to you want to whatever you want to discover in the process. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But a lot of the kids, art should imitate life, or art should imitate imagination. But far too often in modern times, art imitates industry, and that status quo. You know what I'm saying? And then the youth imitate each other. You know what I'm saying? Like because whatever's hot, nigga want to just do whatever is hot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's cannibalism because it's just eating off each other. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So
Well,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say one of the things about you, man, and one of the things about coming up is that when you was an MC, you wasn't just people wasn't just MCs for the most part. You was a b-boy. You know what I'm
No
saying?
doubt.
Like you had, I know you was into the breakdance heavy. I know
Hey,
you was into the graffiti.
come on, man. I'm talking about. I'm a big dude, man, but I'm agile.
Me too. You know what I'm saying? We light on our feet, baby.
Come on, man. Like, look, we talking about we going back to breaking and Beat Street. You know what I'm saying? Wild Style, all of that. See, like, I can reference it because I'm a true head. Even though I'm in Atlanta, a native and southerner, I know the culture. I know where it come from. You know what I mean? Like I used to want to be in the New York City Breakers. You know what I'm saying? Like Little Lep, Powerful Pecs, Mr. Wave, Gino. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, Flip Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they names, homie. If y'all could go back and reference them names, you will see that's almost the entire crew. You know what I'm saying? Or even Rocksteady. Kuriaki. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
Crazy Legs. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
we was the thing about hip hop back then is that it it wasn't just the music, man. Like was really living it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a time where New York City, you see it now where it's all Walt Disney and all of that and Times Square and when COVID is over and you could go back, it's a beautiful place. But you used to go to 42nd Street, that was a dangerous place. And I know
No
there's some
doubt.
places in Atlanta that's all dressed up now and looking pretty, but back then was the same thing. You go to some of them places, boy, you gotta have a crew with you.
That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? But like I can honestly say with the greatest, admiration that I used to want to be from New York as a kid. I think we all did in some small way. You know what I mean? Like because it spoke to me. I felt like, watching the trains go by or that beautiful white train that Rainbow was so in love with, in Beat Street. I mean, like that's how I saw it. So
Died for it.
it looked like the city was a big art canvas. You know what I mean? Like, and it didn't look like graffiti was a crime. It looked like it was an allowance. Something like you feel me? Like that's the way that it was expressed. But and then now you could go to places like Wynwood in Miami, and there's graffiti all over everything, and it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite parts of town because you could just kind of go get lost in the transcript, just get lost in the interpretation. It's like wow, like what drove somebody to that art piece? And what Raymo say, like, if art is a crime, may God forgive me. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
Man, he willing to die for it. That's how much he loved it. He died for it, bro.
Come on, man. Oh, hating ass spit, man. We don't fuck with you, spit.
Oh man, we hate Spit to this day. One of the most hated cat. We hate Spit to this day, man.
I'm still mad at spit. But look, if but then on the flip of that, if not for spit, we never would have got that verse from Melly Mel at the end of the movie, which is to
Mm,
me, Beat Street Breakdown. Y'all youngers, y'all go back and check that out. Melly Mel is Almighty God to me. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? And that is the best verse ever written.
wow, it's hard.
A newspaper burns in the sand, and the headline reads, "Man destroys man." Extra, extra. Read all the bad news. Man, he going so off on that verse. Y'all, please go listen to it. It's
Okay, okay.
church.
We're gonna get into it. DJ Stillhouse 5. He says when Goody Mob was touring heavily in the late 19 and ladies check into it, man. Ladies send us some questions as well. DJ Stillhouse 5 says when Goody Mob was touring heavily in the late 90s, what's your most memorable and second what's your most memorable tour and second what's the most memorable venue?
Oh, I can answer that easy. Like the first memorable, the first three tours we did a small run of the Carolinas. We did it with Mike Geronimo,
Ooh,
OC, Royal Flush was out there, and it was Ja Rule and Irv Gotti and Shaheem. Shaheem he had just got on with that his
with Wu Tang,
yeah
right?
yeah
The
he
Rugged
was
Child.
performing Wu Tang. Shaheem the Rugged Child, shout out to him. I know he just came home recently. Um, but Ja Rule then was the Cash Money Click. You know what I'm saying? So um, and this was before Times Up with OC. Shout out to my man OC, man. We hung out, we kicked it real hard back in them days. And Mike G too, man. Good men. You know what I'm saying, like and then our next biggest tour after that was the Fugees and the Roots. Um no,
I
was it
was there. Y'all came to North. Well, was it in North? No, it was in y'all came to Norfolk. I definitely saw that crew, but I'm trying to think of what it was. The boathouse.
the
It was the
Boathouse?
boathouse.
Yep, I
I
remember
saw
that.
that. I
Yep.
saw that.
The Fugees and the Roots. We was killing shit. We was so hungry around that time, right? And then the second one was De La Soul and Fishbone. So you could see
Uh,
how we was in with the creative, community too. I mean, like the alternative community. De La Soul, De La Soul is Dead is probably my all-time favorite hip hop album.
Wow.
That's a
You you
great album.
you know I gotta ask you, do you have a top five? Do you have a top five albums?
Man, it's got to be De La Soul is Dead,
Okay.
America's Most Wanted. Um,
Over Death Certificate.
but then it get Death Certificate too. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
Woo!
Like, I
That
mean,
that's my that Life After Death and Ready to Die, Death Certificate, America's Most. That's my debates.
mm, it's so many though, man. Like the Great Adventures of Slick Rick. Um, ooh, let me think. Let me think. Oh man, I'd be having such a hard time answering this. It's so easy to say Illmatic. That's definitely one.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I don't know. I had to come back on that. I'm gonna end up naming about 10 more before we done with this.
Did you have a there was a point
Oh,
that
favorite venue.
oh yeah,
Okay,
favorite
that's
venue.
that.
Okay.
Well, we wanted a few Southern groups to do the tunnel, so we did the tunnel as Dungeon Family, and we held it down. You know what I'm saying? So y'all know y'all East Coast boys, they're a tough crowd to please. You know what I'm saying? But we held it down, and we end up making our bones, and getting our respect and getting the love on top of that. But then one of the fondest memories too for me was doing First Avenue in Minneapolis. That's the club made famous by Prince and Purple
Prince.
Rain.
Hard.
I've since
Hard.
then, yeah, because Prince came to see the show. That's when I first met Prince.
What was that like, man? I know y'all. I know that wasn't the only time y'all interacted. I know y'all interacted a few more times, but what was that like? You and Prince relationship.
Um, he was really um a mentor. You know what I mean? And he's very meticulous, um, serious, but he does have a great sense of humor. He's very stern. I mean, like so. I mean, like you wouldn't assume. You know what I mean? Just by appearance, maybe, but like he's like a man's man. You know what I mean? Like, and I can say this, you know, but you know, he was loving and he was really sweet to me. You know what I mean? Like, and sharing and caring with me. And I almost don't really know why, but he took a liking to me, and to this day, man, me and Sheila E. Um, my wife Shani, she styles for Sheila E from time to time.
Mm,
Uh, Apollonia is like our fairy godmother, so she still called. I talked to her. I just talked to her days ago, and I'm talking about this is Apollonia, bro, from Purple Rain. She's still beautiful. She's in her 60s, but she's a gorgeous woman. She'll always be
wow.
that beautiful woman, that jumped into Lake Minnetonka to me. You know what I'm saying?
Always.
Um,
Always.
but yeah, but
Sheila E too. Sheila E. I had the stupidest crush on Sheila
but
E.
Crush
Crush
Groove,
Groove.
come
Come
on.
on.
I was teasing her about that the other day. I said, you did Ron wrong. You did Ron wrong. You know, you should have gave Ron a shot. Come on, man. Trying to go
Russ,
with Blair.
Russ was the boss, man.
I know it. But that was dope. Like, so we get a chance to talk about all of that, man. Like Crush Groove, like, man, I got a chance to meet so many of my idols, but definitely Prince, he's my all-time absolute alpha, what I'm saying, favorite. I don't believe there's anybody better than Prince, you know what I'm saying? Like, besides those who inspired him. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And that's what you're supposed to do, is you're supposed to take it further. You know what I mean? So like then you got, James Brown and Sly Stone and Little Richard, of course, who now that I reference them, you can see all of that embodied in Prince. And so like, but Prince, you know what I mean, like, man, nobody better. Come on, man. Like, what more could I ask for, man, to be acknowledged by the God? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you
Is
know,
that like an out of body experience, man, to be on stage
it
with
is, man.
Prince?
And I want to feel like him answering me with the guitar as we're performing crazy. I felt like, and then of course, to extend it out, we vamped it, so I felt like I was hitting notes that I never hit before. Like I actually sang it better that night with him, um, than the actual recording because of the incentive was so great. You know what I mean? Like you want to be on your AAA game. You know what I'm saying? With in the presence of that caliber. You know what I'm saying? Like of greatness. You know what I mean? And again, I already mentioned that he's meticulous. So like everything is down to the letter, man. Like what I mean. So he's a refined individual. You know what I'm saying? Like true great.
It's when you get one, them joints is like generational records.
Dog,
We
that's what I'm saying. Like I mean, but like, my heart go out to the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if anything I may have ever been crazy about is loving to that magnitude, but not knowing I couldn't guarantee if it would be reciprocated. Like I told you earlier, man, I knew that I could love. You know what I mean? Like, like I'm like, I got love in me. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't make me mean. You know what I'm saying? Like you feel me? And don't make me, don't make me deny myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me try. Let me try. You know what I'm saying? And you can just see that, I think some of that meticulousness, that Prince had, he saw in me because like each one of those educated guesses, and calculated risk, you know what I mean? Like I took those leaps and I landed on my feet a number of different times. You know what I mean? So like, but people gather around to watch the Daredevil because they don't know if he's going to die on that particular day. But the stunt is for the love of the people. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? And it's my job, you know what I mean? Like to not just soft shoe, but for the audience that has the most affinity for me, they're on the edge of their seats, not to see me playing safe, but to see me survive another stunt or
man,
die trying.
I know we don't have too much more time, man. We're gonna get into a couple more records, but one of my favorite records from you, man, it's a unsung song, Robin Williams.
Come on, man.
Boy, low, like that record right there. That's
Dog.
like
Speak on it, bro.
I just feel like it's one of your unsung gems, man, and it just really talks about uh not just and you don't just have to be an artist or a celebrity just to feel what you're saying in there. It's like an everyday person. Like in New York City, we getting on the bus or the train or something, and you might see a woman. She just sitting there, and just a tear start rolling down her eye, man. Like
Mhm.
you never know, and you say it in the song, what somebody is going through.
Bro, thank you for like acknowledging that record on your platform. I'll tell you what happened in a nutshell. Um, it just happened to be the second single off of a project that wasn't was underwhelmingly promoted, only because not because of lack of love, but because of logistics. That was my third and final album um on Atlantic Records. You know what I mean? And
Hot Blanche.
Heart Blanche, and in us parting ways, the enthusiasm for the project just was not there. I mean, like, and it almost didn't even make practical sense for them to, allocate so much money. And it's expensive to be Ceelo Green. You know what I mean? Like, and nobody even knew that you needed and what you needed. You know what I'm saying? Because you always put other people first, and you know what I mean. I know that dynamic, and I know about thinking and behaving in that capacity because as artists, I mean, like we consider it a civil and social service, man. Like all we
Mhm.
do is give. I mean, like all I'm doing is trying to sit around and rhyme words together, trying to be a blessing and be a light to somebody. You know what I'm saying? So like when I don't get love and somebody, don't love me back, it's like it's painful. You know what I'm saying? And that record, I really wish that people could have received it differently. I even had a couple of people accuse me of just trying to cap off of him, like to sensationalize. And I'm like, nah, man, like I'm going all the way back to Mork and Mindy with this man. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
feel me? Like I love him. I love Robin Williams. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad you acknowledged that song. It's a great song. So maybe even with this interview, and the light you shed on it, maybe people can go back and not only check out that song, check out that entire project because it's a solid body of work. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And with that, I guess we could round it out by saying, look, there's so much more to come. This new single "Lead Me" is the lead off single, man, from the new project that I did with Dan Alback from the Black Keys, if you're familiar with him. We partnered up and collabed on a really quaint, but quintessential project, called CeeLo Green. Is Thomas Calloway. Basically, I'm the both of me. Thomas Calloway writes the songs that CeeLo Green performs. You know what I'm saying? New Goodie Mob, 25-year career. You know what I'm saying? We're doing a new album right now. I'm also working on a new Gnarls Barkley album right now as well. So therefore, when I'm still reveling in my free agency and I ain't signing no deal, I can do what I like to call my one man Wu Tang thing. You feel me? So, I can do multiple things at once. You know what I'm saying? So I'm blessed and fortunate, man. I got family, I got friends, I got a little bit of finance. Let's say, everything gonna be all right. And I thank everybody for the support, and the love that y'all giving me over the years. Shy, I thank you for your genuine kinship and friendship. I love you, brother. Keep up the good work and fighting the good fight. You know what
Thank
I'm
you,
saying?
man.
And I'm in your corner, homie. Like whenever you need me, whatever you need me to do, I'm gonna do for free. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
I appreciate it, man. Last question I want to ask you. Your birthday's coming up, man.
Yeah,
Ceelo Green, Thomas Calloway at 45, man. Uh, just reflections on that, man. We met you 25 years ago, 20 years old, man.
yeah.
Um, just I want you just to give us a little reflection on. Did you even think you would make it to 45 at certain points?
I did. I did. And I wasn't even concerned with it, man. Like I've been ready to die more often than I've ready to live. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Um, I was willing to live, but ready to die. You know what I'm saying? Like when I had my son, man, I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like that's a blessing. I mean, like every king want a successor. You know what I'm saying? So I but it is laughable now, man. I look back on it and it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, we here, man. Like I'm 45 years old next month, man. But I'm really not concerned about getting old. I'm just concerned about getting better, getting wiser. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Like and being more efficient and effective with the legacy I want to leave. You know what I'm saying? And then also, at that point, you do have to have them conversations and make sure that your table is set and start dealing with preparedness and things of that nature. And that's not to be dark, you know what I'm saying? But that's to actually be real and be matter of fact. Man, you got to use your mortality as your motivation, man. We all on borrowed time. And if this has not been a reminder, you know what I'm saying, of that, then I don't know what people are going to need to wake up and be more accountable. You know what I'm saying? For their lives, you know what I'm saying? And what they want to leave. So, but me, man, I just looked at that clip of cell therapy that you just played, man. It looked like I just shot that yesterday, man. Like I ain't getting older, baby. I got the Benjamin Buttons disease, man. I'm getting younger.
Or the whole crew. I don't know what Timo doing. He looked younger now. I was looking at the unsung man.
Yeah,
Shout out to you. Shout out to the whole crew, man. We appreciate you.